morning, my friend. How are you today?
Morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. So it's early, super early.
Yeah. I'm drinking coffee. Normally that's 1 cup. Now I'm at 2 just so I could get my butt over
you're
here.
I'll
be wired.
And my voice is about a half octave deeper than it normally is. Yeah.
Nice.
That'll be good. I'll get even more ladies. That's one of the things that Ryan's our guest here. We'll introduce Ryan in a second. But one of the things that's funny is I oftentimes have women come up to me and be like, I fall asleep to your voice.
Seriously?
Yes. It's happened a bunch of times. It's hilarious.
How many guys do that?
I've never had a guy come up and tell me that, but I'm an equal opportunity podcaster here, so whatever. I have a good dad joke today that ties in with our guest.
Okay, good.
It's thematic.
Okay.
So I think it'll work. And so we'll introduce Ryan in a second here, but let me go ahead and do this. Okay. So, most of the world uses the metric system, right?
Yep.
And here we use, I think it's the imperial system, right? I have that right? It's with the pounds and inches and all that stuff. That's the imperial system. So what would happen if America, switched from like pounds to kilograms overnight? Like what would happen?
Oh, I mean, I know it's a joke and I'm supposed to have a funny answer, but we would be better for it.
There would be mass confusion. Oh, get it? Because
mass.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's not good.
Do you know they smacked I can't remember if it was a satellite into a planet or something because they had the wrong units.
They slapped a satellite into a planet?
Smashed it.
Yeah. I like slapped better.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could slap a planet that way. I mean, okay. I guess if you're going to slap a planet, it's going to probably be with a satellite. So.
All right. Well, let's introduce our guest today. We've got Ryan Burney. Ryan, let's see. Ryan was, I guess, the lead engineer on the GT Fury.
Yep.
Ryan's got an engineering consulting firm called Bear Innovation. Ryan is the guy behind Rim Saver.
Yep. Cannondale Scalpel.
Right. I even heard he was an intern way back in the day with
the best company.
SRAM.
Yep, the best company.
That's not the best company. Ryan, Dane, and I have like a battle of Shimano versus SRAM.
So can we call him out and say, what drivetrain do you have on your bike now?
Oh, you're not going to like that. Or you might both like this. Uh-oh. So I have the worst of the worst combo where I had a GX cassette left over.
Yeah.
And a SRAM chain. Okay. And I had an XT derailleur and shifter. And so that's what I'm running
nice.
on my bike.
Does it work?
I like that. Oh,
Does that work? You can do that?
Totally. Yeah. I like that.
It's not great, but it works. I had it.
That's totally like the what do you call it? Apolitical or whatever answer.
Yeah, right.
There,
you're right down the middle. You're
exactly.
A centrist.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, welcome. How you doing today? Did I get anything wrong with my introduction?
Thank you, Josh, Dane. Great to hang out with you guys. You did not. I want to make sure that I worked on those projects with a lot of very smart people. So
sure.
Right.
I was lead engineer on the Fury, but it wasn't just me. And then on the Scalpel, I just developed the Flex Day. So that's only a very small part of the bike.
No, it's that's like what defines it. And that was one of the big things. Like when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's what made that bike stand out, And I want to say, was it one of the first ones that came out? Because, Flex Days are a thing now,
Yeah, it was the first Flex Horse Link in carbon.
Yeah.
And then Cannondale had a full, basically Flex chainstay at one point on a super early generation Scalpel that had the plastic seat stays. I don't know if you remember that bike.
Yeah.
But this one, I think for a Flex Day, very well placed because carbon is super happy in tension.
Yep.
And if you look at the rear triangle of that bike, it's like a wishbone. So there's a lot of mechanical leverage over where the carbon is flexing. Mm-hmm. So for example, if you're flexing where we were flexing that rear triangle and you push up on the rear axle and compress the suspension with no shock, it took about 4 pounds of force to go through the suspension travel. Mm-hmm. And if you were on a lot of bikes of similar travel, if you have just the seat stay flexing, it could take upwards of 30 pounds of force to flex that seat stay to go through the suspension travel. So if you're going to put a flex down a bike, you want to make sure it doesn't get in the way of how the suspension behaves. And 4 pounds of force to compress the suspension, pretty happy with that. I think I'd call that pretty much negligible.
Yeah. So I've had other bikes. Felt did a flex day, one of the first ones that I've seen that we had to pull the back end of the bike down to get the rear shocks on. So is that negative? Because it was almost like it wanted to. It actually had like you said, the rear stays were in tension almost to where they were trying to activate the suspension more. So
yeah, so it depends on how you make it. So we designed that bike around sag because we want to make sure that at sag, which is where you're riding, a good chunk of the time, there was no influence of the spring of the flex day on the suspension. Now, there are plenty of companies that might design their flex day so that halfway through the travel, that's where the thing likes to rest. So, on that felt, that could be an example of what's going on. Yeah. And then some companies like to do it at just the full extension of the suspension. So you'd actually have to compress the suspension. Well, actually, no, you wouldn't have to do anything on that bike.
Yeah.
For the Scalpel, we designed it around sag. So you had to pull down on the rear axle a teeny tiny amount to get the shock in.
Yeah.
But you could do it with your finger.
Yeah. Yeah. So not hard. That's cool. The engineering of this stuff, because that came out, those designs have been out for a while, but right now it's very hot in cross country, like down country bikes.
I told you he was a suspension guy, and I love how we dive like right deep into flex day suspension, and we skip the whole introduction.
Yeah, not only that, but like Josh has this nice list of like clear things that we can ask, and I'm like, I just bulldoze it every time.
That's pretty much every episode. So, it's perfect.
All right, so that was my little blur. What's on your list?
Okay, so I just want to start with like Ryan. Like, how did you get into? And I know you've been on other podcasts before, but for all the women that listen to this podcast, just so they may not have heard those other ones.
That's true. Why just the women?
Oh, for the men too, I guess.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
but I'm not even going to go there and get myself in trouble. How'd you get into cycling? How'd you get into engineering? Like at the very beginning, like what got you into bikes and what got you into engineering?
Yeah. So when I was probably 11 years old, my dad got me a little hardtail mountain bike. We lived in New Hampshire, and so we would just ride around on the hiking trails. There weren't even mountain biking trails there at the time. And I remember he bought me clipless pedals right off the bat because he's like, "Oh, you've got to make sure your feet stay on the pedals. Like that's what clipless pedals are for." Like I didn't know. I just started off at 11 years old with clipless pedals, like bouncing down the hill on a little hardtail. And from there, I got into downhill racing at 14. And the reason for that is because Highland Mountain Bike Park was about 40 minutes away. And I had heard about it and I went and checked it out. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to do this now. And at the same time, the Eastern States Cup had been around for a minute, but like there was a race at Pat's Peak, which was also about half hour away. And so within the same year, I did my first downhill race and started to ride Highland Mountain Bike Park. I was 14, 15 years old. And I was just all in. That's all I wanted to do. And then I got into engineering because I was like, well, I really like working on my bike. And at some point I'm going to have to go to college. Now this is like in high school, right? Like halfway through high school. Yep. I was like, well, okay, I guess I have to go to college. I should make bikes. And I guess engineers make bikes. So I'll be an engineer and I'll be a mechanical engineer because
that's the best. That's the best kind.
Agreed. And so I knew a lot of people from racing, and I was like, oh, okay, like what school should I go to? And I decided to go to Wentworth in Boston. And so I didn't have to travel too far to get up to the races and all that. And then a friend of a friend worked at SRAM at the time. And so I guess I was in college now, and I'm like, oh, I need an internship. And so a friend of a friend worked at SRAM. I drove out there, visited the facility. And
where's it at? Where's that facility at?
In Colorado Springs.
Oh yeah. That's where
I didn't think it was close to Boston, so I was like, huh.
The main mountain bike testing is there. RockShox for the most part.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
What year was that?
So that was 2015.
Trying to think when I was there. And it was after that.
Did you live there, or you just went and visited?
No, I just went they called it tuner training.
Yeah.
So they do like STU, which gives you like basically trains you to work on RockShox. But this was a little bit more for tuners, people that are doing service centers and like higher level learning. I really enjoyed it. I met a lot of guys, a lot of people working on suspension the way I do, which is way deeper than just following a manual.
I do want to, just for our listeners, and Ryan, I'm sorry that we're going to bring this in because you probably haven't heard any of this backstory, but just an update for our listeners. My disdain for SRAM does not include RockShox.
I know you like your Zeb now, right?
Not just my Zeb, but I put that Pike.
Oh yeah,
with the 3.1 and the Buttercups, and holy shit!
Telling you, it's the Buttercups,
bikes,
man.
It's fantastic.
They need to put that on every fork they make.
Yeah, they shouldn't sell a fork without Buttercups.
No, they shouldn't.
That's basically what we think.
Yep.
All right, sorry, just wanted to update that but okay, so internship at SRAM, you said 2015, 2016 timeframe. That would have been like what, your senior year of college?
Yeah, I was going into my junior year. It was right before my junior year.
Right on.
Nice.
So then keep going. Tell us the rest of the story. What happened? So what'd you do at SRAM, and then where did it go from there?
Yeah, so I was an engineering intern for both the mountain bike wheel and brake teams. They sat right next to each other, and they were managed by the same guy. So it was like kind of convenient for me to dip in and out of the two. Uh-huh. And so that was when they had their Rome wheels and stuff like that. And then for the brakes, I guess it was their previous gen guide brakes, with the ones with the bearing.
Yep.
That had a pretty good lever feel. But yeah, I was there for 5 months. That flew by super quick. Got to just like do some like entry level engineering tests. Actually, I designed and built a wheel impact machine at the time.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, funny enough. And we filmed it in slow-mo and like got to watch a bunch of carbon wheels like explode. That was very fun. And it was fun being paid to get to do that. And that's pretty much it. I got to actually be a part of 2 different test trips while I was there, like a full week and a half long test trip, for one for the brake team and then one for the wheel team. So like half of a month of my time there was just like on the road and riding bikes and getting paid to do so. And from there, I was just hooked. I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like, no problem. Like, I don't care if it's components. I don't care if it's frames. I've got a taste of the component thing. I even asked them if I could come back for a second internship. I'm like, dude, you got to go get more experience. Like, don't just work here. And I'm like, okay, fine. And so I got an internship at a dental implant manufacturing company. So and I was like, I got a taste of that. And
that's quite a different route.
It was. And I got a taste of a life that was fine, but it wasn't for me. And I'm like, yep, it's bikes. So from racing, I knew an engineer who worked at Cannondale, and he's like, oh, you should come intern here after you graduate college. And so I applied, and it took a minute, but I started as an engineering intern on the road team, actually. And then from there, the guy who had recommended I come work for Cannondale, he left and went to California to work at some tech company. And so a spot opened on the mountain engineering team.
You're like, hell yeah.
And yeah, so I was there for a couple months. They knew me at that point. They're like, oh, we could hire a junior engineer. And I was already there. And like, do you want to just be a junior engineer? I'm like, yeah, definitely. So I hopped right into that role. And that was kind of it. Like at the time, it was both Cannondale and GT were in the same building. And we had one engineering team that supported both teams.
Are they owned by the same? Are they owned by the same company?
Yeah, they have been for a while.
Okay. I didn't realize that. Is that like Pond Group or something?
No, well, now it is, but back then, what was it? Was it Doral or?
Doral, yeah.
Doral, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So. And it was part of Cycling Sports Group, which was within Doral, and there was a lot of companies that Doral had.
Yes.
And that was super cool because basically we had this engineering team who, we'd asked to do all these like crazy things. And if one brand didn't want to do a crazy thing, the other one usually would bite.
Nice.
So like, imagine you work at like Trek or whatever. It's like, what a Trek looks like. You're typically making a Trek mountain bike. And you get to like change up a couple things here and there. And sweet, like learning rate's pretty good. Like, okay, we made a new bike. We learned from it. But on our team, it was really unique in that we got to make 2 sets of bikes at the same time. So it was like one GT enduro bike and then one Cannondale enduro bike. And they were both different. And then we got to try different things.
Designs, different brand identity, the whole thing, right? That's cool.
Yeah, different flavors of bikes too. Yeah. So like, you got to kind of do everything you wanted to do, and then you get to learn from it. So like compared to being in a normal bike company, I'd say like the rate of learning was essentially doubled, right? Because you're making twice the number of the same bikes, just in different ways. So that was super cool. And then I was there for I think 7 years essentially, and I graduated in 2016. Yeah, and then Pon bought Cannondale and GT, and GT was going to split off and go back to Southern California. And I'm like, oh, I'm in on that. Like, I just finished the Fury at the time. It had just come out. People were happy with it. I align more with, I think, the GT brand identity is just a little bit more my flavor of bike. And I got the opportunity to go and move to Laguna Beach, or Aliso Viejo.
Yeah, that sounds like a rough place to live.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I only was able to ride every single day. But we were basically crashing on the couch of Cervelo, because Cervelo is another Pon brand,
right?
And we didn't quite have the budget yet to have our own office, because like it was like the restart of GT, and so we were just downstairs in Cervelo. We had some desks, and like, yeah, I got to do that for about a year, and from there, I could kind of see the future wasn't what I had hoped it was going to be.
Yeah.
And, things changed. Like the bike world got hit pretty hard.
Yep.
And that like, okay, like things aren't going to be as easy or as fun as we thought they were going to be. And the opportunity to make a bunch of cool new stuff sort of like started to seem like it was going to go away. I'm like, okay, like that's okay. But I think I got to go do another thing. And we couldn't quite afford to live in California.
Nobody can.
Right. So like we didn't really save any money. Like we spent all this money moving out there. And we're just like, okay, like we know this is limited. We could never buy a house there. It just wouldn't work. The math doesn't math on that. And but we had a really good time. But we knew we wanted to end up back in New England, and we really liked Vermont. This is my wife and I. And so I quit my GT role before I had anything lined up. And I'm like, I'm moving to Vermont. Like, we're doing this. We're just going to go. And luckily, I had applied to a design engineer role at Vermont Sports Car, which basically Vermont Sports Car is up here in Vermont, and they are the Subaru North America rally team.
Okay.
So they make the rally cars for Travis Pastrana and Brendan Semenuk.
Okay. And those
like,
guys, you know those names.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, that's another objectively cool job. I'll try that.
For sure.
And so I like snuck my way into there. I used the argument of like, yeah, like a bike chassis is just like a car chassis. It just has 2 wheels instead of 4. It's vehicle dynamics. It's engineering. And that pitch kind of worked, I guess. I was kind of in disbelief. I'm like, okay, like sweet. I'll give this a shot, like 100%. And it was a good time. Like they're big, expensive go-karts. That's effectively what rally cars are, what race cars are.
Yep.
Which is awesome. And I could kind of talk to talk. I was mostly a bike guy, but like I grew up watching every single episode of Top Gear and every car video on YouTube. So I hadn't done a lot with my hands on cars, but like I kind of understood the basics of. So I was able to sneak in, I guess is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
And then luckily half the people there are mountain bikers. So that was also, I think, half of why I was able to kind of get in.
Yeah.
And that was a really good time. I was there for like 8 months. And in the back of my mind this whole time, I was like, I think I might need to have my own business at some point. And just like this itch I needed to scratch. And I'm like, I'll give working for someone else one more shot. And that's what the rally car company was. And after almost a year in, I'm like, yeah, it's time. I got to just go for it. Like, so while I was at the rally car company, I was just kind of chipping away at this rim saver thing. And, I was just looking for a different type of tire insert. And so I just wanted something that was easy. So I didn't have to like have people complain about it. Not even me. Like I could deal with like wrestling and a cush core, but I didn't want to. And then I noticed that a lot of people didn't want to. I'm like, okay, what if I just make it easier? And then also I don't like the way my tire feels with a foam insert in there. Like it changes the spring rate of the sidewall of the tire and aggressively, so that your tire basically gets kicked off of line when you're on the limit of grip and going through rough terrain. Mm-hmm. Like the sidewall of your tire just isn't able to gobble up the terrain like I want it to, at least. And then I saw that in the World Cup race teams too. Like they're all like, they only ran a tire insert if they absolutely had to. They didn't want to. And it was just to make it through their run, because they're like, we only have 7 runs a year and we get paid money to make it down those runs. And like, just because I don't like the feel of a tire insert doesn't mean I want to get paid still, and I want to survive the run. And so they were like compromising on the, like, I don't want to run a tire insert. I will though, because my job is literally on the line. I need to make it down the run. I can't just flat every other race run by dinging a rim or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like if the racers still want a tire insert, but they want a different feel in how their tire operates. And then for a consumer, they want an easier to use tire insert. I'm like, oh, I think this would work. So I made that in the background, made Rim Saver. I'm like, I guess I'm going to have a product company, and started it at like a local little maker space in Burlington, Vermont.
Cool.
And quit the Vermont sports car job with no plan on actually making money. Like, I'm like, I'm just going to have to figure this out. And
obviously your wife was supportive of all this craziness, right? She's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Luckily. Cause and then I'd kind of been talking to some friends who had been doing some contract engineering work. I'm like, oh, I'll just like do that every now and then. And then I can actually pay my rent while I work on this Rim Saver thing. And, so that went on for about a year, where I'm like, okay, like I'm going to figure out how to run a product company in the cycling space that's teeny tiny. Let's just go do it. And so I did it, and am still doing it. But after a year in, like I look back on what I learned, and I'm like, oh, okay, with a product company, you need to go big, because with product, it's typically like 25% net profit. So essentially, like to simplify it, you put $4 into this machine, which is your business, and you get $5 out. So you get to keep $1, and then you do that over and over and over again.
Hopefully, if you've got a good business model and things are working out, you put 4 in and get 5 out.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
It doesn't always work out that way.
Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't. But it was like, okay, well, I can reverse engineer how many $1 out I need to get in order to pay myself enough to live.
Yep.
And then I realized how much more volume I had to do in product in order to get there, and but mostly how long that was going to take. And it's possible. It just takes a while.
Yeah.
And cause like that 20% net profit, you can snowball that forward, and like it compounds. But it just takes, especially when you're only starting with like a small chunk of money that you put into the business, which is what I could start with.
Yeah.
Like you have to grow that small chunk of money, and it has to get to like, okay, like how do I like pay myself a normal salary again? You're like, oh crap, that's going to take a minute. And okay, I need to do something else. But then also the reality of having a small product business was setting in, and that like the day-to-day wasn't just making new stuff all the time. And feel free to talk. I apologize.
No. Please go. You're going. I got
a bunch of questions.
We got a ton of questions, but you're on a roll, man. So just keep flowing, bro. It's working.
So what brought you up to where you're at now?
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I need to be able to pay the bills. Like my runway was running out, and but I learned so much. I'm like, okay, I got to keep working for myself. Like this is wonderful. It's like the life. It was hard, way harder. Like life was objectively more difficult, and I had to put way more energy into it. But I enjoyed every bit of it. I'm like, okay, I'm never going back. I'm just going to have my own thing forever. But my own thing now needs to evolve into something where I can actually pay my bills. And I had been doing that contract engineering work on the side. I'm like, oh, well, let's just like flip it and put all the attention on that. And then I had a bunch of friends who were looking for contract engineering work. I'm like, oh, we could all like come together and work on big projects together. And I was like, oh, that's an engineering firm. Like, let's just make an engineering firm. And so I just put out to the world, like on LinkedIn, like, hey, I have an engineering firm now. Anyone need help? And then and a couple of people reached out and they're like, yeah, we need help. I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess we're doing this now. And that was about 6-7 months ago, where it was like, okay, officially, like, I guess I'm making an engineering firm. And so we have a bunch of projects running now with a bunch of friends, and we like tag in on the projects. And like, if we need someone with a specific set of skills, we pull them in. We have some consultants who are experts in like different areas, and we just work together on projects and get them done and help both individuals who like want to start a business and businesses who need help creating a product in the cycling space or not. We just help them get that stuff done.
Yeah. What's the breakout of, so you're talking about Bear Innovation is your engineering firm. Do I have that right? Yep. So what's the distribution, or what's the breakout? How much of the work that you do is like cycling specific, and how much is in other industries, and what are those other industries?
Yeah. So right now it's 80% cycling specific, and that's just because that's who we know.
Yep.
The problem with the cycling space, it's not a problem, it's just a reality, is that there will forever just be less money in it.
Yeah.
I could rephrase that a little bit, but I guess what I mean is like, I talk to friends who have engineering firms like outside of Boston and stuff, and like they help, a medical device company create a plastic enclosure for a product.
Yep.
Right. And like, I'm like, so what are your hourlies? And they're more than double what we could ever ask for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like ever ask for. And I'm like, oh, that's a different game. Like, but that's fine. I like making bikes, so I'm going to keep making bikes. But we're willing to work on anything that we find interesting. So like, I went into race cars because I'm like, I think race cars are cool. I'm going to go like help make race cars. If someone comes to us with like a cool project, whether it be a robot, a race car part, or just something that's neat, we'll help make it if we have time. And so we're trying to build the business out in a way where I think in a perfect world, I think half of our work will be cycling focused just because it's fun.
Yeah.
And that's where our expertise lies.
And the other half will keep the lights on.
Well, kind of. You can keep the lights on in the cycling space. You can. I think it'll be nice to have things be somewhat balanced out, where it's like we have a lot of fun in the cycling space. We are experts in that space. We get to pick and choose what projects we work on. So like only doing the ones we want. We're not just like, sometimes you run into a problem where like you just have to crank out another e-bike, which is fine. But sometimes you're like, it's like not that exciting when they're just like, go get it done. And you're like, that's one of the reasons I left. That's what my future was going to become
for GT.
If I had stayed in the bike space, it's like, hey, go like, and that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that life. I'm just like, I think I could work on things that I'm just more interested in.
Right on.
Okay. I got a question I've been sitting on for a while.
Go. And we're going to interrupt your flow now.
It just popped up and I'm just like, okay, so you had mentioned you worked for a medical device or a dental device as an intern. And so the question that popped in my mind, and I don't know if we've ever asked anybody, because we talked to a lot of engineers, how many engineers out there actually do what they work on? Like, you raced at a World Cup level and you worked on bikes. That makes total sense to me. And I think we talked to a lot of people like that. But then you went into this dental, manufacturing company, and I'm like, you're not a dentist, And so it just occurred to me, like, how many times do you see an engineer at maybe one of those bike places that doesn't ride? Do you ever see that?
It happens every now and then. Yeah. It's tough. Like, so if someone comes from outside the cycling space and they are truly an expert in something, whether it be composites or just plastics or electronics, I think are the best example of where they can succeed in cycling. Yeah. Because a lot of mountain bike guys are like, I don't know. I don't know. Like we didn't make robots for fun, right? Like that's not what our background is. Yeah. But a lot of other people have. And so pulling them in, like if you're a big, like if you want to include electronics in your suspension, it's like you probably don't already have someone on the team who's really good at that. Yeah. So it makes sense to pull someone from a different industry in. But it is, if you're making the next level road bike, like the next generation best road bike in the world, you need to know the ins and outs of how a bike works. And you need a decade at least worth of like having obsessed over the space in order for that product to succeed.
To know the nuances.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because there are so many nuances, like
Yeah.
just like, oh, like your knee hits the top tube sometimes,
Yeah.
or, the handlebar looks a little weird, like all those little tiny things.
Yeah.
They add up super quick. So I think if you're trying to do something new in the cycling space, that's when you have to pull someone from outside of the cycling space. But if you're iterating upon what's already been done, it's often easier to keep most of the team as they are from the cycling space, and then tag in an expert for whatever the pointy new thing you're trying to add to that product is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then when you were at that internship, did you feel like you were that guy that's kind of coming in without
you're not biased. You don't have a long history of bias, so you can bring fresh ideas in.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but like you're going into dental, you're interning there and you're there to learn, engineering techniques and methods and stuff. But, did you go in going, what can I bring? Or was it just, what can I learn?
At that point, I didn't know a lot. So it was just, what can I learn?
Yeah. And then when you went to the race car, the Subaru guys, was it the same thing, or was it now where you could bring something?
I could bring a little bit. So like I could bring some expertise in carbon, and then also like design engineering of like literally modeling surfaces of, for example, I worked on a track car rear wing, did the surface modeling for that, worked with an aerodynamicist to basically come up with the shape of the wing and the size it needed to be and where it was going to be on the car. And I'm like, oh, I'm good at that stuff. Like, that's no problem. That's just like, that's similar to bike engineering. But I was able to design the wing, and then a new way to do the tooling, and a new way to do the way we actually created the composite wing, and we made it hollow, and like used some of the best practices from how you'd make a carbon bike, and applied it there. And they're like, oh, cool. But then at the same time, when I was there, I learned so much about, like, I didn't have all the nuance about like why you wanted to use this gearbox and how you'd connect it to another part of the drivetrain in a certain way for a certain reason, of like, oh, you got to be able to drop it out of the car and get it around this part of the chassis in order to be able to actually even work on it. I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't know that. I was missing out. I didn't know any of that stuff. It all made sense, but it was fun to be around other people who were total car experts and nerds, and look into that world and be like, wow, they know so much more about this. So I was definitely able to contribute, but I learned so much from having worked there.
That's awesome.
I think I was helpful. They say I was, but there were some times where I'm like, okay, like I don't quite know enough.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's one of the things about engineering. We've talked to a lot of engineers. We really haven't touched on how often they're put into a space where they're not really familiar with it.
Yeah, for sure. A handful of things from your monologue here, Ryan, that I want to just pick out and maybe double click in. The first thing from your internship with SRAM, you actually disproved one of my theories. And my theory was that SRAM doesn't actually test their products. and you said you actually went on week-long testing events with SRAM. So they do actually test the products.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, SRAM's interesting in that they make so many products. Like I'm still so impressed with how that company runs. And like they are even interacting with them as like a bike company and being like, hey, like we need information about the bits that you're making and like how it interfaces with the frame. And like, I would call them kind of like the Apple of the
gold standard
space.
Yeah.
They're just, the way their business operates is very dialed and impressive. I think the challenge with cycling parts is like, you're asking a lot of these little tiny parts that aren't going to be that expensive, and you have to make a lot of them. And so you're gonna every now and then struggle with some issues.
And you mentioned, we've talked about this many times, like the best way to make $1 million in the bike industry is to start with two. But just to put some scale, maybe to help our listeners understand, like if you look at Trek bikes, and I just kind of looked this up and verified, so I got good information here. But if you look at Trek bikes as a big bicycle corporation, one of the biggest ones, and you compare it to the company I work for, we do Trek's entire revenue for a year in 1 week.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a week, we do their entire yearly revenue. So it's just on a totally different scale.
Yeah.
Even the biggest companies in the bike industry are relatively small.
Yep. Yeah. It's still a sport, it's still a leisure time activity, whereas like,
it's not a sport, it's a lifestyle, bro.
Well, sorry, but I mean, it's just a portion. Like you can give up cycling. I hate to say that because I would never do it and never want to, but you could give that up and still continue on in your life. And then there's other industries where you just could not give them up. Like they couldn't go away. So
like if you, Dane and I went up, I don't know, last year or whatever, and we visited Pivot. They're based in Phoenix, which is kind of just north of us, and Chris Cocalis's company up there. And we went and kind of spent the day with them and went through their facility. And we were shocked at the size of the engineering company, or engineering department, like how small it was, compared to like the company I work for. It's got 30,000 engineers, right? So it's like, wow, you guys are doing all this with this smaller number of engineers. And that kind of led us to get really excited about when we met up with Faction Bike Studio, and now we're excited about Bear Innovation. And then hearing your story about Durrell and the pond and how you guys were sharing like one engineering team that was supporting multiple product lines. I mean, it just totally makes sense. Put it in the frame that like there's not a lot of money in the bike industry. So it really in an engineering department, just an engineer is a very expensive resource. So like the groups that are sharing, like you said with the pond group or Durrell, or the groups that are using outside consulting firms to help augment their internal team so they don't have to keep them on the payroll for the full year or for however long they can kind of buy by the drink. I think it makes your business model really interesting for this industry specifically, right? I mean, so you guys just getting started, right? You said you're 7-8 months into the engineering, and it seems like you got pretty good response so far.
Yeah. Like I think you hit the nail on the head where the workload flexes so much depending on where you're at in your product development line and how you're moving through creating the next version of it. Like it doesn't always make sense to have 5-10 engineers on staff year round. Half the time they might be twiddling their thumbs, and that's a really expensive way to build a team. But every now and then the work will flex, and then it's like, we need all the bikes made right now because something changed in the market and a new e-bike needs to be created now. And that's kind of where we come in, is we fill those gaps and we make it easy for companies to flex in size and keep their core engineering team, which you always want a core engineering team. But it is super risky and painful when you grow that team to accommodate for the work that's about to come in. And then that work kind of dips down and you gotta, and I'm like, we've all seen this in any company, but it's very painful to have to downsize your team every couple of years. And no one likes that. It's not fun. And so we just make it easier on the bike company where they don't even have to worry about that. Everyone's happy. And then we just come in, take on that overflow work, get it done. They're stoked. And then we go away.
So you talked about two different use cases where bicycle industry folk can come and engage with you. One was I got a new idea. I don't yet have a company, or maybe my company's really small and I want to bring something to market. The other one is I'm an established product company in the bike industry, and I want to use you to augment my staff. To help our listeners understand like what you guys offer, could you give me the sales pitch to those two people? Like if I'm a new guy, I'm trying to come into the industry, what would your sales pitch be? And then if I'm a product manager in an existing big bicycle company, what would your sales pitch? I just kind of want to get an understanding of like what services and experiences you guys offer and bring to the table.
Yeah, totally. So if you're someone who has an idea of like, I want to bring this product to life, basically, we sit down with you and we work with you to literally bring that product to life. So design the thing, create prototypes, validate that design, introduce you to a vendor, work with that vendor, help you literally produce the product and then get it to wherever you want it to be, whether it be your first warehouse or whatever. And then you can start selling it. And then we can basically support you and iterating that product into its next generation and making sure that, if there are any issues that we can resolve them. So you're not just stuck with problems that have been created by having a new product that especially hasn't existed before. And then for existing bike companies, it's exactly kind of what we were talking about a second ago where, okay, all of our engineers are at capacity. They're working on projects that had been planned for. A new project just got put onto the table because things have changed. And it doesn't make sense for us to hire another engineer or another couple of engineers. We need a little bit of outside help to get this project done and get it done well. That's where we tap in and we make sure that we execute on that project in a way that aligns with how your company likes to create product and your product philosophy. So it looks like we weren't even there. It just looks like you were able to, like, externally, if you're looking at bike company A, oh yeah, they just like made another bike. You didn't even know that an outside resource came in and helped them.
So Ryan, do you guys offer, obviously you guys have mechanical engineers. You said you were a mechanical engineer. How about software, electrical engineers, industrial designers? Do you guys offer those with the increased use of electronics, whether it's in the shifting systems or e-bikes themselves? Software and double E's, I think, are needed. Do you guys offer the full suite, or are you guys primarily mechanical engineering? You guys do industrial design as well? Like what's the plate look like?
Yeah, so it's mostly mechanical engineering and industrial design, and then we have friends who collaborate with us on projects who are electronics engineers.
Okay.
And basically, we have a lot of friends that, like, for the most part, our staff is remote, and they're mostly consultants as well. So basically, if a customer comes to us with a very specific problem that they need to solve, we pull from our network.
You got a Rolodex of engineers that have different skills and different capabilities, and you can assemble the team, and they're all working other consulting projects. So as long as their availability matches up with your need, you can assemble the team you need at that point.
Yep, exactly.
Yes. Pinch hitters.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. That's an awesome model.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Very cool. Okay, I got another question that popped in my head. So I want you to help me with this one. This is kind of a myth that I feel like a lot of our listeners and a lot of cyclists believe.
Yeah.
And I actually believe this too, is that it always feels like the bike industry is testing their stuff on. They don't do as much.
Back to the SRAM doesn't do product
It's
testing.
not just SRAM.
Yeah.
It's other companies. But what causes that that feeling of, like, every time something new comes out, there's always bugs, and the new one addresses that, and it doesn't feel like they actually sussed it out before they
they're putting products into the field too early,
or almost on purpose to get us to test them and then find out what's going on. Because it's hard sometimes to do fatigue testing, in every situation, like a 240-pound guy versus a 160-pound guy or what have you. Yeah. So, like, is that a myth, or is there a little bit of that just has to happen because it's just impossible to fully test something out before it goes out?
So I think it depends on what iteration of a product type you're on. So if it's a new, innovative way of doing something, if you want to have that product out there and be one of the first, there is a little bit of a roll of the dice that has to be had. Otherwise, you just fall behind. And, like, that's not necessarily my opinion. That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
And so, on bike frames, I think, are the opposite of that, where, the bike companies that have been around for a long time are quite good now at making sure that they fully validate that their frames will last over a decade before it ever gets to market. And they'll do that fatigue testing on in-house machine tests that they've developed to solve those exact problems. But if you have a new type of product, like a derailleur with electronics in it, there might be some issues that don't arise until that thing becomes 3 years old in age. And you don't know what those problems are until that product gets to 3 years old. And so it's a balance of, if you're deciding to launch a product like that, you can wait 3 years and then someone else will do it and they'll be first, and then you miss out on a lot of revenue. But I think a lot of the times you just sort of have to go for it, but in a way where you've done your due diligence, so that you've done everything you could do to make sure that the thing will survive as it's intended to. It's just, it doesn't always work out sometimes. I think in the cycling space, especially, like, in order for the company to survive and live, they have to launch products sometimes. It's not good, but it's just, if you're not making as much money as, a defense company, where like you literally just aren't, you can prove out the product 100% and delay its launch by a year
and go out of business.
But you go out of business, right? Like you just go out of business. Like you literally can't afford to do it. So it's tough. Like it's not fun to have to sometimes be forced to create product that may not be perfect.
I feel like you described Shimano and SRAM, and I'm very neutral on both. By the way, I just got my new XT Di2 group.
Nice.
So I'm not all SRAM. So for all of the listeners,
we'll convert you.
Yeah. But I feel like Shimano's philosophy has been kind of make sure it's right, do it right the first time, and they'll delay or they'll appear like they're not really producing stuff as fast. And whereas SRAM is like pumping that stuff out. And then, I think that's one of the drawbacks, like you guys are pointing out, is that when you're dealing with SRAM, like sometimes you're seeing product that wasn't quite ready. Needed some refinement.
Shimano's also not only tied to the bike industry, right? They build products for other industries, so they have a more, I guess maybe a more buffer potentially.
Well, yeah,
in their business,
they could have if they don't release the latest and greatest every single year, it doesn't affect them as deeply. Whereas SRAM is really just a bike company. So that's very true. But that's one of those myths that's been out there. So Cannondale, like probably before you worked for him, was probably famous for that. We would see just new versions of Cannondales left and right, and they always they had the nickname for a long time of crack and fail, and they were constantly refining their frames, and then the lefty forks and the head shocks.
There's also a cultural thing. Like I work with a lot of Japanese companies, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, Suzuki Heavy Industries, others. And what we find culturally is like they put a lot more focus on quality control. And quality into their manufacturing process and their design process compared to like other companies that have a similar product but are in the United States or in Europe. Yeah. For whatever reason, the Japanese, I think it's a cultural thing. Like they just put a lot of time into it, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So. And that can be, it's awesome, but can also be super frustrating because it's going to take forever to get a product from. Like, Jesus Christ, could you guys please deliver it? And
put it out there, and we're
not going to send it to you until it's right. And I'm like, well, sometimes I need it perfect, and sometimes I need it now, and I need it now. So, goddamn it, give it to me.
That's true, and so it's not so much a myth; it's a reality that does happen a little bit. So,
yeah, I think one example from a different industry where this is sort of taking place right now is, with the Toyota Tundra. Compared to like an F-150, similar motors, like twin turbo, one's a V4 or V6, and then one's a twin turbo V6. Yeah, let's just say 2 twin turbo V6s. The Ford's on their 3rd generation of that motor for the 3.5 liter EcoBoost.
Yeah.
The Toyota's on their 1st.
Yeah.
And so it's like Toyota just had the same motor for 20 years before. And so they made it perfect. But then all the customers were like, well, it's not fast enough. The gas mileage kind of sucks. It's not exciting. And so their hand was forced, and that they like, crap, okay, fine. We'll make that twin turbo V6 that has all the power and gets the fuel efficiency. And Ford isn't known for having as good of reliability, but now because they went for it and they pushed through and like tried and made the new thing, even though it wasn't perfect, they're now on their 3rd generation of motor. And if you're going to compare the two, you probably want the Ford motor right now.
Because there's something about repetition, right? Yeah, something about repetition.
And you have, like with new product, you have to go for it. Yeah. Otherwise, you just never get the opportunity to learn how to make it better. And sometimes the consumer does pay, and that does suck. But the alternative is not innovating. And in the long run, I think Toyota's finding out it's pretty painful to just like not keep moving forward and push through that pain. And then at the end of the day, they're behind, and now they have to play catch up. Because, I guess we can, if the listeners don't know, like the Tundras are having a lot of motor issues.
Yeah.
Like their motors are failing. And it's like, if they had been on their 3rd generation of twin turbo,
that would have flushed out already.
Right. But now they have to go through a lot of pain
Yeah.
And so do the customers in order to play catch up.
Wow. So I wanted to switch gears.
Yeah.
Speaking of motors,
Go for it. But let's not. We got to come back to rim saver.
That's that's where I was going.
Perfect. Go for it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to switch from the engineering talk, which because we geek out, and I think a lot of people fall asleep. So we save the best for last, which is we want to talk about the actual company you started, which is to address something that I think every single one of us has an issue with, which is flats and damaging rims. So can you tell us a little bit about that project, that product that you personally make? So
yeah. So we have a small business called Rim Saver, and it basically is just a easy to install bottom out bumper for your rim and tire. And with that, it doesn't mean it's going to make you unstoppable, but that's not the goal. It's just sort of to take the edge off of sharp hits that either ding a rim, cause a pinch flat, or if you have carbon rims, cause a crack. And it's sort of like wearing a helmet when you ride. It's like, okay, let me pause on this analogy really quick. A helmet's not going to make you invincible, but it makes a lot of sense to run one.
Yeah.
You can still get a concussion, just like with a tire insert, you can still break a wheel. But I'd rather have my helmet on and know that when I hit that sharp rock, going back to the rim, I am more likely to be able to continue to ride and not have to deal with a pinch flat or a damaged rim again.
Okay. And so this is a strip that sits against the rim inside the tire, and kind of, does it come up over where the bead would normally be and give you like that bead protection?
Yep. Yeah. So basically you can imagine it being like a V shape inside of your tire, and it's a soft plastic strip that sits above your rim flanges. And so when you run into a sharp rock, it spreads out that sharp impact, making it a blunt impact, which wheels and tires are much better at handling. Then it also squishes slightly and siphons off some of the energy.
Nice. And then how do you deal with like all these different rim widths like that are out there? Like, do you have a range, or is there a bunch of different widths that you use?
Yeah. So we've optimized for the most common rim widths, focusing mostly on 30 mil internal rim widths, especially for our midweight and heavyweight version. And then we make the insert compatible up to a certain rim width beyond that and below that. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I haven't had that question asked in a while, because for the most part, it's been compatible with pretty much everyone's wheels. But we just make it slightly wider than most rims so that it's always over the rim flange and protecting it.
And then go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask, like, how does the press to valve?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How does that work with your rim
do you have to so like with Cushcore and other brands, you have to have like different valves that allow sealant to get in and out? Do you have that something similar, or do they come with valves, or?
Yep. Yeah, they come with valves. And then they do require a insert valve, essentially an insert compatible valve. So basically it just needs some holes on the side of the valve, so that if the rim saver ever covers the top of your valve, air can get in and out of said valve.
And then is it, so you were talking earlier about how that product, so a lot of tire inserts kind of give you a different feel. Sometimes they use that as their selling feature, like, oh, it's going to give you like a dual.
Changes the spring rate.
Yeah, spring rate or something like that, which drives me nuts. But so yours isn't meant to do that. It's meant to kind of make it feel like a normal tire. And so there's not a lot of bulk, I'm guessing. Is it easier to put on than like a Cushcore would be? Like, is it still a pain in the butt?
It's much easier. So it's still all dependent on how tight your tire is on your rim. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm not going to say that if you have a Continental downhill tire and you're putting it on a carbon rim, without an insert, that still sucks.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that this somehow magically makes that experience better, but essentially Rim Saver, it has a bungee on it, and it increases in diameter to move out of the way of your tire bead during tire install.
Is it split? So, is the insert itself split? Are you stretching a material, or is it so what's it look? Yeah, sorry. What's it look?
No, all good. So basically, it's a loop of extruded plastic
Okay.
that goes around your rim, and then there's a slight overlap with a slot in it. So if you ever slashed a tire, you could put a tube over your insert and still limp home. You don't have to take it out and throw it on the side of the trail or put it around your shoulder.
Okay.
But basically that overlap exists so that we can next to it fit a bungee. And essentially there's basically a strap and a bungee that allows the whole entire insert that's wrapped around inside of your tire increase in circumference.
Okay.
And so it stretches out of the way of your tire bead as you're installing it. So it never gets in the way of your tire bead going into the center channel of your rim. And then once your tire's inflated, it just cinches itself in place and holds itself in place.
The air pressure inside the tire is what's kind of holding it in place.
No, the bungee.
Or the bungee.
Yeah.
So
Bungee
the bungee is
itself.
like
Okay, gotcha.
tightening it. It's it holds itself in place. So it doesn't really knock around. And it's always in the right spot so that it's ready to protect your rim and tire. And then what's nice is it doesn't stretch in diameter over time. So like some foam inserts, they get larger, like you're 8 months in, and now it's kind of loose in your tire. So your tire has changed in feel. But then also they can knock about and spin, like when you start braking and stuff.
Like a Huck Norris, where they just kind of spin inside or
exactly.
twist or move around, and like they may not be in the place that you want them. So, So yeah.
So talk to us. You've got some. I think you have 3 different versions of this. Is that right? You have a light, medium, and heavy.
Yep, exactly. So everything from gravel through downhill.
Oh wow, gravel too. That makes sense. So
and then the weights. What are the weights of those of the systems? Do you remember?
Let me pull it up because it's been a minute.
You don't have all this stuff. You don't have all this stuff memorized by now.
I usually do. Don't worry, but I know I'll say the wrong one right now. So like right now, so our lightweight for 29ers 79 grams. Our midweight for 29ers 183, and our heavyweight for 29ers 249.
And then do you cover 27.5 and 29?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it the same one and you
SKUs.
trim them, or is it different insert?
It's a different insert. So we want to make sure that the install experience and the fitment within the tire was optimized for each.
Okay.
And then we also want to make sure that the person who had the 27.5-inch wheel wasn't lugging around more protective material than they had to be.
Yeah.
So
I like that you can put a tube in it, because one thing that does happen a lot, like let's say on a Cush Core or even the Vittorias, which I'm really happy with, you get a flat and then now you don't have room for a tube. And then you've got to pull that insert out, put a tube in, if you get a slash. Yeah. And then you're bandoliering a tire, like a soppy,
noodle.
A soppy pool noodle around your body while you're riding back on a tube.
Yeah. Or what happens to me, and because I couldn't get the damn tire off.
Yes.
So I couldn't put a tube in because the insert was blocking on a trail without the tools at my house. I couldn't get the fucking tire off. So I had to hike out.
Yeah. Right? Now, I'm going to get back to the tire bead, because we did a podcast with Vittoria, Ken Avery, and he said that one of the things that they're doing on theirs is kind of increasing the stiffness of the bead to act as a tire rim protectant. And so as those get stiffer, they must sit straight and then create kind of like a deeper channel that this would have to go into, or does it flex up to kind of, so if you take a normal rim, you've got a normal channel, trying to do this in the camera so you can see it. And then if the bead sits higher, does your insert flex to get into that, so to accommodate for that extra stiffness in the beads?
Yes. So basically we have a V shape that is sort of flattened out.
Okay.
And then we make sure that the total width of that V shape, even if squished down into a different tire shape, is wide enough and has the protective material over the right place of the rim flange, regardless of tire shape and the tire carcass shape. And it always falls into place literally because it's being pulled in circumference via the bungee, and it squishes itself with that V shape into the tire, and forms itself right into where it needs to be.
So it's not.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're not really. You don't have to worry that you're your tire brand will make a difference. Like you're pretty
Correct.
much accommodating all the tire brands. Okay, I got a really hard question. What's your favorite tire?
So it depends. I used to be a big Maxxis guy. They were always very good. I just ran a DHF front and rear.
Yeah.
Because I saw Connor Fearon doing that in a World Cup video when I was probably 16, and then I just did that because I'm like, oh, Connor Fearon does that. That's what I'm going to do.
Must be good.
That was the only logic. I really like. And then I moved to the Magic Mary. It was really hard for me to beat the Magic Mary. It suits my riding style. And then the full Continental range these days, I've been enjoying quite a bit, especially because the sidewall stiffness makes it so that I get the feeling of an insert that, when I was back on Maxxis and running a cush core, I was like, okay, I appreciate the extra sidewall stability that cush core was giving me, because the Maxxis are they're like balloony in that they squirm a bit more.
Yeah.
But then the carcass, especially around the bead for the Continental tires, is so stiff, and it doesn't change and feel too quickly as the tire breaks in. It's consistent, it's supportive, and then there's not really a reason for me to run foam anymore because I'm getting all the sidewall support I want, and the tire's tracking the ground in the way I want it to, especially without the foam. But I still want the protection for those sharp rock hits.
Yeah.
And that's why I made Rim Saver. Essentially, it's kind of solving a problem for me and my friends, and especially because it wasn't a solution that we saw that was out there. That's the main reason we created it, and it won't be for everyone. That's one of the biggest things to point out is it's for people who are looking for this exact type of solution for these reasons. There is still a place for foam. It's just not what I want to run and not what my friends want to run. So that's why we made it.
So what would be the number one thing that somebody wants to go with Rim Saver over that makes it different? Are they just looking for rim protection and not feel? Would you say that's the best selling feature, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so it depends. So our target demo, like the people who buy our product the most, are people who have nice wheels, and they want it to be easy to protect them, and they don't want to lose out on the ride quality of those nice wheels. So you spend $2,000 on this carbon wheel set, and it's light and peppy and all this. And if you put a foam insert in there, sometimes you can lose that pep. And the ride feel kind of gets deadened, which for some people is fine. But a lot of the times they're like, I just bought these nice wheels. I want it to feel like there's nothing in there. I like the way that they feel, but I have nice wheels, so now I want to protect them. That's who buys our wheels, our tire inserts the most. And then the other person who buys them the most is the racer, who is looking for rim protection so that they don't ruin their runs, but they prioritize the way the tire feels without a tire insert.
Nice.
I heard a great analogy on one of your other podcasts. I don't know if it was you or one of the hosts was saying it's kind of like putting a case on your cell phone.
Oh,
like I'm looking at my iPhone right here, and I it's an expensive thing.
Yeah.
And Apple didn't. I mean, I'm just adding to the protective, and it kind of feels like that's like that's a great analogy for this product.
it's funny because my iPhone doesn't have a case. It's all cracked, and I've got stickers holding the back together. So
You don't want to hold your rims together with stickers.
No.
Hey, you guys list some percentages of impact strength increase that comes from using these that start at 13% for your lightweight, 19% for your midweight, and 28% for your heavyweight. How are you calculating that? Like how do you determine those numbers?
Yeah, so basically it's with our in-house sharp impact test machine. So we have a wheel braking machine in-house.
Yep.
It is focused on sharp impacts. That's the type of impact we believe is most relevant for modern wheels and what we want to be protecting against. Because blunt impacts, like carbon wheels these days, are pretty good at taking on blunt impacts. You don't really get pinch flats from blunt impacts either. It's always the sharp ones, the ones that when you pull your foam insert out and it has all these slices in it. Every time I did that, I'm like, those are the only impacts I care about.
Right.
It's just those sharp impacts. So we designed a test rig that focuses just on that. And basically it's change in energy that it took to break the rim is what those percentages represent with that particular impactor. So with and without rim saver. That's what that percentage increase is from.
So Ryan, what are your prices and where can folks get these?
Yeah, so they're basically, it's a flat rate of $89 a piece per insert, or you could buy a pair for $174. Everything is mostly set up D2C right now, but with the goal of
that's direct to consumer, so they can go to your website and get it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we basically market in a way to where shops that are interested, they reach out to us, and then we sell through them. And
they can have a margin. They can sell them at your price. They don't have to like try and sell them more than you do.
Correct. Yep. Okay. We won't ever compete with a shop. And it's a good margin as well.
Okay.
And we ran into this funny problem where when we launched Rim Saver about 1.5 years ago, you reach out to QVP or BTI and they're like, we don't want another tire insert. We're not even going to try this thing, which was totally fair. Cause like they had way too much inventory. They had to dump it all. And they're like, we just don't want another tire insert. And like, okay, fine. Like I'll try and make enough people want this thing so that someday QVP comes to us and says, hey, we would like to like sell your tire insert. And so we've been doing that by working with shops. So shops who reach out and are interested in it, buy rim savers from us, they sell them. And if they're happy, they come back, and then eventually we'll work our way up to QVP.
Okay. So, I'm interested. So my problem, I want to know if your product will fix my problem. My problem is, again, I'm not a big insert guy because I don't know if I've actually put it down and figured out why I don't like inserts, but it could be that I'm noticing that feel difference, Mm-hmm. I'm also a weight weenie, so I want to keep my stuff light because I'm heavy, so I got to compensate, right? And so, and I have really nice wheels. Most of my wheels are top end, $2,300 wheel sets. So my biggest cut or flat that I get is the one that basically pinches the tire and the rim together, and you get a cut at the bead and you get a cut like right on the inside of a knob, usually right where the rim would be. And so does your product help with that, or is it just meant to really protect the rim? Like, is the cutting, can you get a sharp enough impact where you're going to still cut that tire, or especially at the bead? Those are the hard ones. Or is yours going to help with that?
It does help with that. So I don't have exact numbers for pinch flat protection. Pinch flat protection basically became a byproduct of creating Rim Saver. Like the name Rim Saver came from trying to protect rims. Yeah. And then in doing so, we stumbled upon, this is pretty good at helping to prevent pinch flats as well.
Yeah.
Because basically what it's doing is it's a soft thing that goes between the sharp rock trying to slice your tire on your rim flange. And it essentially spreads out that sharp, so it becomes harder to slice that tire. And so as soon as the gravel version came out, I did do a test to get some data on the gravel tire for the amount of pinch flat protection that it has.
Yeah.
And on that gravel tire, it was about a 50% improvement in pinch flat protection.
That's awesome.
Now I need to, and then the anecdotal feedback we get too is like, this thing has definitely helped with pinch flat prevention. Will it make you unstoppable? Again, no tire insert will make you unstoppable, but it definitely helps.
So I also said that I was going to bring up Envy. So your product is similar to what Envy did. I don't even know if they still do it, but they basically created a rim strip that went over the top of their carbon. And now I'm seeing the difference. It sounds like their rim strip, the tire would sit into their rim strip and actually beat up to theirs. So their rim strip was not helping with pinch flats. It was not in between. So yours sits in between the two layers of rubber when they compress and creates that cushion, whereas like an Envy strip is sitting underneath, and so it's protecting the rim but not doing anything for the tire. Is that fair?
So you've had a bad experience on the Envies, is what you're saying?
No. I think they protect the tire, the rim, great.
Yeah. What's the difference between them from your perspective? I think is what he's asking.
Yeah.
So I think the Envy's better than Rim Saver.
Oh, really?
I think that's the best way to do it. The problem that you run into is most people can't buy those wheels.
Yeah. And you can't, and that strip's contoured to that specific rim. You can't move it from wheel to wheel. So
Correct.
yeah.
So that's the biggest problem you run into is like, I'm like, I like that solution the best. It's my favorite one.
Okay.
But 99% of mountain bikers will never be able to ride that.
Yeah.
But 99% of mountain bikers are, well, some percentage of that percentage is interested in pinch flat protection and rim protection, especially for like, I already have these wheels that I like.
Yeah.
And I want to protect them. Like that's my target demo. I want to give MV props on what they've done because I think that's really cool.
Oh, nice.
Dude, that I've never heard a product owner say that before.
I think so. I mean,
that just speaks to his integrity,
plus
right?
he's an engineer.
Yeah.
For all we know, he worked on that project.
I did not.
He did not.
I think, but I'm like, oh, that thing's sick. And that's why we ended up with plastic too. I'm like, why is everyone using foam? Like foam's good, but when you take a sharp rock and you smash it into a carbon rim flange, like there's a lot of energy there. And it takes a lot of foam to dissipate that energy.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think we need something firmer. I think plastic makes sense. And so I'm like, oh yeah, Envy does that. Cool. Let's do that too. It's just in our own way.
Nice.
So, just for our local market, our trails here is just like Sharp Rock City.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we're going to go out and ride today and we're going to hopefully not have to walk our bikes back.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
but this seems like it'd be a great product for our local.
That's what I'm trying to see is like, one, you told me something as a bike shop owner. I could sell this product and I don't have to compete with you. And that makes me happy. So, and then two, it may address something that we do see here locally, that sometimes gets ignored. Cause I don't know what it is like where you're riding, but a lot of times companies are designing products for the terrain that's kind of most that they see, wherever they're based out of. And so, if you're in a really rooty, muddy, nasty terrain, you're going to kind of develop tires with big lugs that kind of shed mud and grab roots. And then if you're in the Southwest and you're dealing with square edge, like sharp rocks, like we do, you're going to develop, a different type, and nobody's developing stuff here. I think you should move here.
Well, I can't ride here in the winter, so I'll pop out.
Yeah. We're convinced.
If you do any product testing, let us know. We can help you out.
We feel like we need to get a house and just have all the engineers have access to it in the summer or in the winter.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we've had that conversation
a
bunch. Well, hey man, thanks. Really appreciate your time. Really excited to see like where things go with Bear Innovation and Rim Saver. You got any other products that you're developing right now you want to talk about, or nothing?
Or what's the most exciting thing that you can give us a teaser on?
Oh, okay. So it's all we work on discretion. So we try and unless a company wants to brag about us helping them develop their products, which sometimes the smaller ones are down to do. And those haven't come out yet, so we can't do that. We try and just be plug and play, and like no one knows we were there. So is sort of the goal.
Just like
I'll give you a little hint. Faction Bike Studio, similar to what you're doing, and we asked them the same question, and they gave us a generic term, which when they said that we will probably see a lot more modularity in the bike industry, and that's all they said. So do you have some teaser for something like that? So
not necessarily, but I mean, maybe what they mean by that is like efficiencies to be gained within bike chassis and like trying to, like Trek just did it, right?
Yep. Yeah. That's
like
what,
we did that at Cannondale and we did that at GT. And a lot of companies have been doing that for a while. And it's essentially like, how do you, like bikes are, they're becoming quite similar. So it seems like it makes sense to make one base chassis and then tweak it so that you can have 3 different bikes out of it. So long as, and this is the biggest thing, so long as they're all they all work quite well and aren't fully compromised to where they all just kind of suck.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to accidentally run into that scenario, and then it's like your full lineup of bikes just isn't that good. Yeah. And so there's a way to do it, and there's a way that you don't want to do it. But companies they have to do that now because it just doesn't make business sense to, if you're of a certain business size, open up 3 different sets of front triangle tools for carbon frames for a cross-country bike, a trail bike, and enduro bike. Well, cross-country bike's different, but like a trail bike, aggressive trail, and enduro bike, you can kind of make them the same thing and use the exact same front triangle. So Trek's doing that, and I think it makes business sense, especially if you can provide the consumer with a product that fulfills 100% of their needs. Like, why not, right? It's a win-win
or grows
for both
with
parties.
them. Like that's one of the things that we in the shop we love, that you can take a new rider and say, hey, you can get this bike, but then as you grow, it grows with you. It changes with you.
I mean, you saw me do that this year. Like,
yeah, with
so
the Gorilla.
I had a Gorilla Gravity, and I bought it in the Smash configuration, and then before we went to Angel Fire this year, I converted it over to the Nirvana, which is a bigger, like 180, 170, whatever.
Yeah.
And goddamn, that bike opened up, man.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it was great in the Smash configuration. And the Nirvana configuration, it was way, way rad.
Yeah. And once you put some SRAM on that, it'll be really good.
Oh God, here we go. All right. All right. On that note, Ryan, you got any final thoughts for our listeners, brother? Anything we missed or that you want to say, any plugs or anything you want to do?
No, just, I've overthought bikes for a long time, and the conclusion I've come upon is still just like, don't worry about it. Just go ride your bike and have fun. It doesn't really matter. So like, don't let like, you know, I should have a better answer for this, but like, this is kind of just like riffing off the top of my head, and it's a feeling that needs to come out. It's, don't worry about your setup too much unless you really want to nerd out about it. Yeah. And sorry, Dan, I hope this doesn't go against your business, but there are people who just like really want to nerd out about it, and like, cool. If that's what mountain biking, if that's what makes mountain biking fun, you do it. Awesome. Yeah. If you're not that worried about it, don't worry about it.
Just ride, run what you brung.
And it doesn't hurt us at all, because we're nerding like crazy. And you don't have to buy a new bike every year, but sometimes throwing a new set of grips just gets you a little motivation, and you know, totally. some little product, or maybe, you know, like your product, you're addressing real issues that are costing people money. It's a money saving thing. Yeah. So
I think I'm definitely going to get some of these to try them out on Lacey's bike. Yeah. My wife's notoriously hard with sharp rocks. So
yeah.
So that'll be good.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Thanks
a
lot.
Really appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Thank you guys.